We're almost there. Revenge of the Clone, Part 4. I'll do a recap of where we've got to. So, what we've managed to do, and really surprisingly managed to do, I might add, is we've managed to clone the original Barracuda 250 gig hard drive that was in the MUSE Receptor, which is that one, which I'm all fingers and thumbs about, and we've managed to get the MUSE Receptor to boot from this 1 terabyte SATA interface hard drive. So effectively this is a clone of this, including the fact that this is only using 250 gigs of space and it's 1 terabyte of space. So we need to expand the partition on here to get it to use the other effectively 750 gigs for stuff that I can put onto this now that I've cloned it. Now, I've never done this before, never with a Linux system. I've done it with Windows a few times where I've had to expand the partitions, but I've never done a Linux drive. So this is going to be a first for me and a first for you. Now, part of me says, John, don't touch it, don't bugger with it, it works. The problem with that is, yes, it does work, but it only works to the point of 250 gigs. And I've got a 1 terabyte hard drive. And I bought a 1 terabyte hard drive on purpose because I want to load a lot more stuff onto my MUSE Receptor that is not currently there. So in order to do that, I obviously need a bigger hard drive. Now, admittedly, when I actually looked at this hard drive, I'm only using currently about 15 gigs of it. I don't know how much I'm going to use once I start loading stuff onto it. So having a 1 terabyte hard drive is probably the easiest thing to do because it gives me plenty of space. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a second Western Digital hard drive, exactly the same one if I can get it, and I will make another clone. So effectively I've got the original, which will go into an anti-static bag, one anti-static bag, and then that original will go into storage just in case I need it in the future, and then I will start working on the cloned copy of the drive. That's the theory. Now, in order to do this, I'm going to swap to another program that is available on the internet. And this program is something called PartedMagic, which I've downloaded and copied onto a thumb drive. Now, there are a couple of other issues with PartedMagic, which is why I didn't use it when I was cloning on the MUSE Receptor itself. The first is it needs 3.5 gigs of RAM or thereabouts available. And this machine only has 2, and I don't have. I'm looking around for two 2 gig DIMM chips for it. I'm not sure whether that will work because the 32-bit operating system can only address about 3.5 gigs of RAM. A 64 gig operating system can address a lot more. Hence the reason why you get more RAM in a 64-bit operating system machine. So I don't know whether if I put 2 gig chips into this, it will work. Second thing is I've got to go and find 2 gig chips. I can readily find 2 1 gig chips, but I can't readily find 2 gig chips. So we'll see what happens with that. So that's the first thing. It needs roughly 3.5 gigs of RAM to run, which this doesn't have. And every time I try to run it on this in what they call light mode, which is basically it runs from the stick, all I do is I get a blank screen once you get to the point where the graphical user interface is meant to come to screen and nothing else happens. So in order to run this program, I'm going to use my standard Windows machine here, which is just a standard Dell laptop, and we're going to boot it from this and reboot it into PartedMagic. And then we're going to use a program called gparted, which is part of the application suite that's on here. So what PartedMagic have done is effectively they've given you a suite of Linux tools, which is on this particular stick. You download it as an ISO and you put it on here. The other thing that was really annoying, which is when I did this earlier in the week, is I downloaded gparted onto a stick, and I've got loads of 2 gig sticks because I use them all the time in other machines. And you know, if you look in the Goldfish Bowl, you'll find these hanging underneath my music stand, all labelled up for what machine they've been formatted for. And they're all 2 gig, and 2 gig is normally more than enough for everything else I'm doing, apart from this, because this program is 2.09 gig in size. Yes, it's a bugger. It's just bigger than a 2 gig stick, so I've gone up to the next size and bought a 4 gig stick. Now these are not expensive, so I'm not really annoyed about that. I suppose really what I'm saying about this was, it was just annoying because I couldn't continue with what I was doing the other night, and therefore I had to wait a couple of days for the next size to arrive. Now that has arrived. The program's been copied onto here. If you want to know how to copy an ISO onto a flash drive, go to YouTube and type in Ballen Etcher or Etcher. Or Rufus. You can use Rufus for this as well. Originally I was going to use Rufus for a lot of the work I was doing on this particular project, but I have to be honest and say that Ballen Etcher is so much simpler. So guys, it's free, you don't have to pay for it. Go get Ballen Etcher if you're going to do this sort of stuff, because it really does do it very, very quickly. So the next thing to do is to effectively set the system up. So in order to read this, I've got a USB drive here, which is an SSD format. What I'm going to then do is just pop the hard drive into the socket there, make sure it's well seated, which it is, and then we're going to boot this and have a go at extending our partition on here without actually buggering it up. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Okay, like with the other videos I've done on this series, what's going to be up here will be recorded, and then I'll put it up into that sort of same square here, so you can see what I'm doing. So first things first is, let's get this installed in the machine and switch the machine on. We want to be running into the boot menu. Great. Unfortunately, when it's going into the BIOS and the boot menu on this particular machine, it's not giving any video output, but whether this comes across or not, I'm not sure, but effectively it's given me 2 options in the boot menu here, and I want to select option 2, which is the disk, like so. And with a bit of luck, it should now start booting. Right. And I want to select option 1, which is run from default. And what is probably very difficult to see at the moment is what's going on this screen. So I'll just turn that around because it's not coming through on the big screen at the moment. Hang on, Sun exchanging, there you go. It's now coming through on the big screen. So what option 1 does, effectively, it copies all the files off the hard drive onto into the computer memory. So it doesn't actually go onto any drives, it just puts it into memory, so it runs the whole thing from memory. And it takes a few. I played with this in the week, but I've never done the partition stuff. So this is, as I said to you, this is kind of a new thing for me and for you, whoever's watching this. The one thing about doing lots of videos, and I've done a fair amount of talking this morning on camera, is it really dries your throat out. Okay, this boots into a Linux desktop, and I suppose those of you who are used to Linux, this is a fairly standard style thing. There are a whole host of applications that this thing installs. Just go through it. There you go. Sort of. There's the accessories. If you're interested, let me just. There's a whole raft of stuff in there for encryption and sorting drives out. Then you've got graphics programs. You can get onto the internet with various things like Wireshark, etc. Multimedia, VLC player, that sort of stuff. Then you have a full suite of LibreOffice, which is an open source Office product. Then we've got settings for various pieces that you might want to do here. But the one we're really interested in is this option here, which is Partition Editor. This is a program that you can get for free, by the way. You don't need to have PartedMagic. It's just PartedMagic puts a nice GUI interface around the program, whereas the free version is very command line driven, sort of an old Unix style. But what this allows me to do is it allows me to look at the drives. And I know at the moment what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the internal drive of this machine because it's got a Microsoft Reserve partition on it. So I don't want that drive. What I actually want is this drive. And at the moment I haven't got this caddy switched on, which is why this drive is not on screen. So if I switch this caddy on, and with a little bit of luck, it will, once it's booted up and recognised itself, let's go and have a, has it found the drive? No, it's not found it yet. Rescan. Okay, it's not found it. I'm not sure why it's not found it, but it's not seeing it in this list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly reboot PartedMagic and see if we can get it that way. Okay, after a bit of jiggery pokery, for some reason it didn't want to recognise the drive. You can now see, which screen I point to, but you can now see that this, if the cursor is there, yeah, the cursor. This is the drive that's plugged into this thing down beside me, this caddy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of that and I'm going to open Partition Editor and just bring that to the centre of the screen. Right, so again, coming back into this screen, I know that this is the hard drive in the machine itself and I don't want that one. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this one, REV C here, and I can see that that is the hard drive that is on here. And as a complete shock to me, the Clonezilla, when it cloned the hard drive, has actually expanded it. So the size of this is that, and it's actually got 916 gigabytes available to it. So I actually don't have to do any resizing, which is actually really good. If I wanted to resize this, what I would do is effectively open up this like that and then tell it I wanted to resize it. and you do that by right clicking here and then going on to size and move, which is this option here. And then effectively what you can do with that is you can change the size of the drive, either by using the mouse to move this or actually typing numerical values there. As I say, I don't have to use it. I've never used it, but that's how you do use it. So at this point, because I don't have to bugger about with it anymore, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to shut all this down and put this back together, and hopefully with a bit of luck the damn thing still works. So I'm not going to bore you with the screwing it all back together stuff, because that really is boring, but I'll come back when I'm actually booting this up for the next time. So see you in a minute. Okay, as you can see, this thing is up and running. Okay, and of course when you see that, I'll be pointing into a hole, and if I use my mouse here, and you can see down here in this section that says info, you can see a hard disk is now being shown as 855 gigabytes available, and a total of just over 1,000 gigs or 1 terabyte, which is exactly where we wanted to be, and it has taken a real age to get here. Now, the last thing I'm going to do just before I switch this, pack this all up, is I've no idea how long the battery's been on the board. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm quickly going to change the battery out. So I'm just going to get my long nose insulated pliers. The battery, it's not going to come across on camera particularly well, but the battery is just off the board here. So if I do that, out pops the old battery. In pops the new battery, and we'll just around. I'm sitting there thinking it's not right, but the button battery, that's good. Yep, that's fine. So we'll just pop that in there. Now, people will probably be screaming at me that you shouldn't be doing that while it's live. If you can get to the battery holder while it is live and there's no electrical components around it that you're going to fuse, then you can do it, because what you're not doing is taking power away from the board, and that's what loses the settings. So by quickly whipping it out like that, I've been able to change the battery across to a brand new battery. I don't know how long this battery's been in this. So look. In fact, it was due to be changed because it's not hardly registering on the meter. So that was probably a good call. Right, and on that note, that's the end of Revenge of the Clone. The clone didn't win, I did. But the next step, the next job, as I say, is to get a second replica 1 terabyte hard drive and use that as a standby drive, and then start building up the library on the MUSE Receptor. More to come on the MUSE Receptor, but that was the first big job done. And on that note, live long and prosper. Bye bye.